Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Richard and I am the Bull Rider. And if you're new to the channel, I recently purchased this Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera that you see behind me. It is the highest mileage Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera in the world at about 115,000 miles. And if you don't know what the Superleggera is, it's a special edition Gallardo that they only made for the US, about 152 of them. Of that, there's 52 orange ones. So very rare and unique special car. And normally you see this car have about 15,000 to 30,000 miles on it. And this car kind of breaks from the mold at about 115,000. So very special history on this car. It's a wonderful piece of automotive history, and it's honestly immaculate inside and out. And the last two owners took care of it very well. But to be honest with you, I've kind of come across a huge issue that I really have to talk to you about, and I'm going to show you how to fix it, but it's pretty involved. The big problem with this motor is oil consumption. And Lamborghini even says from the factory, for about every 1,000 miles, you're going to consume about a liter of oil. And to be honest with you, on my car, I'm consuming about a liter of oil every 100 miles. But I'm going to show you why that is. So this car runs wonderful, honestly. But the problem is that I would take it out for a drive and I would go around and have a good time, and then I would come back and park it for a couple hours, and then I would go ahead and start it up, and there would be a huge plume of smoke out the back of this car. Very embarrassing. And let's say hypothetically I'm decelerating down a hill when I'm in gear, and at the bottom of the hill I start to accelerate again. There's a huge plume of smoke that comes out of the back of the motor, and again, very embarrassing coming from a Lamborghini. I think you can get away with that on another car, but on this car, everyone's looking at you and you can't get away with anything. So honestly, I can't really even drive the car because of these problems. Other than that, it runs perfect. It has plenty of power. There's no issues whatsoever on anything other than that. So if it wasn't for the oil consumption and the smoke, I wouldn't know anything's wrong. It really wouldn't. And to be honest with you, I have good news and, well, I have bad news. So I'm going to share with you two things today. I'm going to share with you a compression test, and I'm also going to share with you a Borescope. And we're going to figure out why this actually happened to this motor. I'm going to share with you my plan of action on how to fix this, because I absolutely want to drive this car. It's warming up, and I can't see myself not driving this wonderful piece of engineering because it's just an absolute joy to drive. So under ideal conditions at my altitude, during the compression stroke, my motor should be compressing the air inside the cylinders to about 151 psi. And when I perform a cold compression test on this motor, on all the cylinders, I'm actually getting compression of 150 psi. So almost ideal, and there is no variance between the cylinders whatsoever. So that's very good news, and that's the really good news that I have to share with you regarding this. So that was my first initial assessment was, okay, maybe the piston rings are a little bit worn and oil is leaking past the piston rings and then into the motor and then being combusted in the motor. And I'm going to tell you it's not the case. And if you're not familiar with what a compression test is, it's basically where you take out the spark plug and you put in a gauge that tells you how much the motor compresses the air with both the valves closed, both the intake valves and the exhaust valves closed. And this tells you a lot of things. It tells you how well your valves are sealing, and it also tells you how well your piston rings are sealing. So if you have a good compression test and there's no variance across the cylinders, you'll know that you have a very good, healthy motor. And this is what that tells me on this motor. So the next result I wanted to share with you is the results from the Borescope. And if you're not familiar with what a Borescope is, it's basically a small camera that you can put into your cylinder to see the condition of the piston and the cylinder walls. And what I found immediately on several pistons was a huge puddling of oil on top of them. And this was after driving the car and then parking it and then taking it apart. And I was able to get the car apart in about 30 minutes to do this test. And what I saw was this huge puddle of oil. And this can only really come from one place, and it's the valve stem seals. So what happens is you drive the car and everything warms up and the leaking valve stem seals have a chance to expand. And when you stop the car, there's oil in the location where the valve stem seals are located. And what happens is the oil seeps through those valve stem seals onto the valves and then finally into your motor. And this is what we're really seeing. So when I went ahead to start up the car again, I saw all this smoke that leaked past the valve stem seals into the piston or onto the piston, and then it combusted and then went right out the exhaust. So to fix this, honestly, we have to take out the whole entire motor. And first we're gonna start by taking out the bumper and the exhaust, and then we're gonna take out the transmission, and then we're gonna finally take out the motor. And then once we have the motor out, we can take off the cylinder heads and then do a little bit of valve work, and then we can put everything back together. And I'm gonna show you how to do all of this. So I don't want you to be intimidated when it comes to working on these cars. And I think it's gonna be a lot of fun for both of us to learn on how to work on these. And I think you're gonna really enjoy what's to come when it comes to taking this car apart. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. And while we're in there, we're also gonna be replacing the timing chains. And what's cool about this is that it actually uses Audi components. So the timing chain from the B6 S4 and the B7 RS4 are very similar to what you see in this motor. So very cool, and we get to save a little bit of change that way as well. So that's very nice to see. And since this motor is a little bit higher mileage, I really want to replace that, and it's good to do while we're in there. So I'm pretty excited to show you that as well, and I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. So if you're excited to take this car apart as well, please give this video a like. That way I know that you're excited for the upcoming videos, and as much as I am to take this car apart, and to show you all the awesome engineering behind it. So if you do that, I really appreciate it. And until next time, thanks.